for your continued partnership and support, and for the opportunity to join the Blacks in Tech community again to share more about our career opportunities, culture, and leaders at Northwestern Mutual. As a lead program manager for our talent communities, I have a unique opportunity to work on projects and partnerships where my personal passions intersect: mission-driven work, equity in action, and providing access and opportunities for those historically excluded in the technology industry. And as some of you may know, Northwestern Mutual has been a partner of Blacks in Tech since 2021. And through this partnership, we can deliver on our mission-driven work, putting equity into action through opportunities such as our recently announced 20 scholarships provided to Milwaukee Black technologists who earn nano degrees through Udacity. And it would not have happened without our partnership with BID. So we're excited to continue advancing this partnership in 2022. I'm excited today to have some of our leaders here, some in tech and some very close by, join us to share more about their career journeys and how they've been able to grow into their purpose and live out their personal missions through their careers. This will be a casual conversation with Q&A at the end for the audience. And I'd like to start first by introducing our moderator, Kisha Keeney, who will also play a dual role as one of our speakers to share her journey as well. Kisha is a Senior Director of Diversity and Inclusion who oversees our 8 employee resource groups. And Kisha gets energy from developing strategic partnerships, coaching talent, consulting our business areas, and building and delivering education alongside her team to create sustainable change at Northwestern Mutual. Please help me welcome Kisha to the virtual stage.
Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate you. And excited to be here for the conversation today. So before I jump in and introduce our panelists for today, I want to just share a little bit about Northwestern Mutual. So in addition to what Sarah shared, we are a Fortune 90 company, and we are US based. Financial services is our focus area. And we also have employees that span the US. So our home office, we have roughly 8,000 employees. And then across the field and our network offices, around 10,000 employees. So just to give you a little bit too around our DEI journey, we started back around 2005 on our journey here with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And our team has expanded. So we have both a home office D&I team as well as a field D&I team, which is very rare and unique for a US-based organization. But I think that speaks to where we're at on our journey and how important this is for us. And when we think about, the leaders that we have on this call today, I can't wait for you to be able to hear from them. They all are at very different stages within their career, as well as leaders here at Northwestern Mutual as well. So they've got some different and unique stories to share with you today. So thank you. So Sheila and DJ and Abim, I'll let them actually introduce themselves. Sheila, if you'd like to go first and just share a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Sheila Jackson, and currently I am just recently took a new role. I'm actually working in the cybersecurity space right now. So you will see on my title, it says Lead Program Manager in the Office of the CIO. That program is definitely close still to my heart. I was working in both spaces up until this week, and that is why you still see that. My career journey has been very traditional in that I went to school and got a degree in management information systems with a minor in computer science, and traditionally did those jobs that most people come out in that career. Started out as a developer on the mainframe, went over to a mid-range engineer. And then across the time, I have done work in development operations, product owner. I have also worked as a program manager. I have worked as a service delivery manager. So a lot in technology. When you think about what you can do in this field, there are so many different careers that you can do. And I think I've had a taste of them all, even to networking and, replacing cables. So yeah, that's kind of my journey in technology.
Thanks, Sheila. Abim.
Hello, Kisha. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be joining you this afternoon to share some tidbits about myself and whatever questions you may have. My name is Abim Kolawole. I have been at Northwestern Mutual for about 19 years now. It's a phenomenal company, business models around financial services, financial planning. My role is really to advance financial planning, to create a strategy around financial planning holistically that enables our clients to achieve their hopes, dreams, and aspirations. So looking forward to an engaging conversation this afternoon. Over to you.
Thanks, Abim. DJ.
Hello, everyone. I'm DJ Dejon Smith. I've been with Northwestern Mutual for about 3.5 years now. I came into it in a very non-traditional route. I met with IC Stars. I got into the program, did 4 months of hard training there, and met with some great people, and got connected with Northwestern Mutual. And I'm here now. I don't have very much to say right now, but you'll all hear about this soon.
Yeah. Welcome. And I love your story too, DJ. It's good too, I think, for everyone to hear as we think about the topic for today, growing into your purpose. We all get to our purpose in various pathways, and timing as well is also very different and diverse. When you think about getting to, your purpose and what that means for you, and is it tied to your career? So I'll just jump right in here and ask. So you shared a little bit about your roles and or your pathway getting up to the role that you're currently in. Can you also share a little bit around how you've strategically navigated your career path at NM to get to where you're at? And I'll kick this over to Sheila for you to get started.
Sure. That's a great question. And I think one thing that we'll all learn is that when you're navigating your career, it's going to look different for everyone because this is a journey. And when you're on a journey, it will look different. But I will say, in order to navigate your career, you really have to know where you want your career to go. And you have to take ownership of that. And a part of knowing where you want your career to go is knowing what your strengths and what your opportunities are. And if that's something that you're really not sure about, there are a lot of tools out there to help you identify what those are. And you can Google them, like Clifton Strength Finders and High Five and Strength Profile. Those are all things to help you identify what your strengths and weaknesses are or opportunities. And then once you have those identified, start setting up what your goals look like, right? The short-term goals, those things you want to do in the next 1 to 3 years. And then that long-term goal, that 3+ years that you want to identify. When you've been in tech for a while, you know that you can have these goals out there, but if you don't have a plan to achieve them, they're just a wish. And so you really want to identify what those goals are and start putting a plan in place to achieve them. Once you've developed what those goals are, then it's really time to sit down and find those mentors or your sponsors to help you put that plan in place. And that's one of the things that I did when I came on board here at Northwestern Mutual. I really knew what my strengths were, and I knew the areas that I really wanted to grow in. And so the first thing I did was join the African American Employee Resource Group, because one of the opportunities for me was building relationships. My prior role before coming to Northwestern Mutual, I worked remote. I had worked in that role for 17 years. And so building those relationships was not as critical. But when I came into Northwestern Mutual and back into the office, I realized that was an area I really needed to work on. And so I joined our employee resource group, and I am so glad that I did. What that one gave me was a chance to meet some outstanding people who were working throughout the organization. Then secondly, it gave me the opportunity to be a part of the leadership team for the African American Employee Resource Group, where I learned to drive strategy, execute on those initiatives that we were planning. But it also gave me the chance to build those relationships with our senior leadership who can give you advice and help you steer your career.
Thanks, Sheila. I appreciate that. Also, I think too, our employee resource groups are one arm, right, of the DEI initiatives that we have at Northwestern Mutual. And there's so many others. And so I also appreciate you sharing. I mean, I know I got to see you in a front row seat leading our ERG last year. And so I think, many companies have are these people groups that work towards your D&I initiatives. And I think it's important that you treat those as really a talent engine for yourself. How can you get those stretch work opportunities in order to get the skills that you need in order to advance in your career? So thank you for sharing that. I think also we're very much a relationship driven culture. And so it's important to build those skills, whether you're at Northwestern Mutual or at another organization, so that you can really lead in your career pathing and what that looks like. Abim, would love to hear from you. You are one of our senior leaders at the organization. And so curious how you've been strategic in navigating your career at Northwestern Mutual.
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to share, Kisha. The three words that I would say that we all have to internalize when we think about our careers, wherever you may be. The first is a notion of personal disruption. And you would hear a little bit about my story. And I say personal disruption because you have to be willing to disrupt yourself to be as relevant as possible. The second is intentionality. Nothing happens without being intentional. And the third is about courage. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. So keep those three words in mind as I've navigated my career. First, I think it starts with a bit of a true north or roadmap, like where do you want to go? I always had aspirations. I had hoped I'll be a business executive at a company like this, and today I am. But I started my career as a lawyer, and I spent 11 years being a lawyer at the company. But then I realized, again, to the notion of personal disruption, that you have to step out of your comfort zone and disrupt yourself, raise your hand to do something you hadn't done before. And I did that. Fortunately, I got the opportunity to move to the business side, leading operations, which I did for a number of years. And I currently have the role that I have today. So I painted the picture of that true north, that aspiration of true north. I really made sure that I was cognizant of the need to personally disrupt yourself. And I've had a variety of roles over the last 19 years that I believe creates flexibility, creates relevance, helps you understand exactly how you're going to get to the next job that you have. And, you know, courage should not be underestimated. Frankly, that holds us back a lot of times because of the fear of failure. If you've been doing something for a while, you're very good at it, you tend to stick to that. But you have to take a leap of faith sometimes. You know, line yourself up with mentors and sponsors who can nudge you and help you and guide you. It's often difficult, often challenging, but frankly, 2-3 years into it, you will look back and say, what was I afraid of? I'm glad I took that leap of faith. And all those experiences that building on one another towards your ultimate true north. So that's how I've navigated my career at Northwestern Mutual over the last 19 years. And I continue to navigate it in a similar fashion with another true north that I have. So hopefully that's helpful. Maybe when we get to the Q&A, we can pressure test some of those three things. But again, personal disruption, intentionality, and courage, while also having that aspiration of true north, and you take bite sizes of how to get there.
Thanks, Abim. You, in true Abim fashion, always leave us with some gems. I really appreciate having the benefit of your mentoring moments with me in my career path. So thank you for sharing that. And I think also the other thing I want to touch on too is courage. When I think of those of us who identify as African-American or Black, courage is so important. And many of us were taught to kind of like keep our heads down and do the work. But if you want to advance, when I think about purpose and connecting that to your career pathway, you have to have courage to really be resilient and to persevere and to speak up and to lead where you go, and to know that you truly own your career pathway as you navigate it, no matter where you're at and what company that you're at as well. So in that space, it hasn't been sunshine and roses for all of us all the time. And so I'd love to hear around, in thinking about courage, what are some of the challenges or detours that occurred along the way for you, and or how did you persevere through those? And I'll kick this off with DJ first in answering this question.
Okay, well, thank you. as I stated, I went through a non-traditional route. So I had a lot of challenges and a lot of detours. I'll tell you a little bit. I started off, I have about 7 years of customer service experience. And 5 of those years were in Wisconsin. A year was in Atlanta. In Atlanta, I became best friends with someone in IT. And long story short, that was my mission, to get into IT. And yeah, that was my when I met him, I knew I had to get into IT some way because I wanted stability in my life. When I was younger, growing up with a younger parent, I didn't know what to do really with my life. Go to school, not go to school. How do I pay for it? Where do I go from there? So when I moved to Atlanta at 21 and seeing him and his friends go the traditional route of school, get into IT, a good job, you're able to live fine. Me being younger, I wasn't able to do that. I had a younger parent. I wasn't really focused and I had a lot going on in my life. So a year later, I moved back to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I started teaching myself how to code. I started going to freecodecamp.org, Pluralsight, anything to give me skills to do what I wanted to do. So with those skills, I started gaining them, but I didn't know where to go with that. And I went one day in September, it was a job fair at the public library. So I went, I didn't like libraries at all, job fairs at all, because you don't really get a position, you don't really get anything besides, apply here. So, but when I was leaving, I saw a desk for IC Stars. They said they'll teach you how to code, business leadership for people of color. And that's what Atlanta had that Wisconsin lacked, per se. So to see Wisconsin progressing in the ways to include, people of color into big companies like Northwestern Mutual, for instance, or just again IT was amazing to me to see that was brought here to Milwaukee. So of course, I did the program. It was a 4-month program. So I was there 8 to 8 for 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Coding was very hard for me because it was Java, so it was new to me. And, I was able to meet different mentors. We had a mentor from Northwestern Mutual. And with that, mentors are very important. My mentor was able to connect me. At that time, I was thinking of different positions while I was in the program of what I wanted to do in IT. At first, it was UI, UX. So that's designing what you see in apps. So I wanted to do that. I thought I wanted to be a business analyst. At the time, my mentor connected me with a BA. I figured out that wasn't what I wanted to do at all. So I continued the program, the normal process, not knowing what I want to do, but I'm going to do this program because I'm going to get the skills I need. Towards the end of the program, Northwestern Mutual wanted to hire me. And I had a lot of fear in my life. I had a lot of, doubts about myself to be in Northwestern Mutual, because again, someone that didn't have a degree, I had skills, but are these the skills that will measure up to get a position in that? And long story short, I had a mock interview. I had a mock interview within the program with my manager. And she became my manager. And she was my mock interviewer at the time during IC Stars. And that's how I got into IC Stars pretty much. But it was a lot of challenges because I became broke. I didn't know where to go with life. And I just want to say, don't give up. If you have something you want to do, you have to do it. And that's what stuck with me. And that's why I did the program. It was brand new to Milwaukee. I was the second cycle to graduate from the program. So, coming into something like that, you don't really know what is going to happen. But, as my current manager stated, you shouldn't let fear paralyze you. And that's what I didn't do. So I continued with the program. I got my position at Northwestern Mutual. I started as a contractor for about 2 years. I became full-time within, my 3rd year. And a couple weeks ago, I became promoted to a support engineer too. And I say that to say, I started with customer service and I love helping people, but I always wanted to be behind the scenes. I never wanted to talk to you really. I don't want to say it like that. Well, being the call center, it was a headache. And now I'm helping people, but I'm not speaking on the phone every day. So I'm doing what I always wanted to do, like help people. And yeah, that's what I did. It was very challenging to say the least, but yeah, I overcame it because I believed in myself and I just had to do what I had to do.
Thank you, DJ.
Yeah.
I think what I want to pull from that too is, and I appreciate your vulnerability and transparency, because I think oftentimes as humans, we get stuck in the trap of comparison. We want to compare our pathway to someone else's pathway when the reality is yours is always going to be different to what Sheila, I think, mentioned earlier. And so understand that there are lots of ways to get to the end results, whatever that is. Timing is also really important too. It's not going to happen when we want it to happen. It's going to happen when it's supposed to. And that connection of purpose, that connection of, am I doing what I need to do, where I need to do it? And so I also heard you too. You persevered not only through an untraditional pathway, but you also, even with imposter syndrome sneaking in there and getting at you, you still put your head up and you moved forward and created really a way out of no way. And I love for everyone to be able to hear that. I hope you're seeing too the love that you're getting in the chat, because there is a lot of it that's being shared there. Sheila, would love to hear from you too. You came to Northwestern Mutual at an interesting point in your life. So would like to hear what maybe detours or challenges you had along the way and how you persevered.
Sure. And that's the one thing about life, right? You don't know what it has in store for you. And so I did. I came to Northwestern Mutual. I had been at AT&T for 17 years, got married and pregnant. And to my surprise, I was pregnant with triplets. And you don't know, if someone would have told me that I was going to get pregnant with triplets, I would have laughed, right? And so you don't know. And so I took a kind of a detour off my journey of in technology, because my home became my priority at that time, and career kind of took a back seat. And I was looking for a role where I can still be in the workforce and still contribute to technology. I am still a technologist at heart, but I still had a priority to my family as well, to my young children. And Northwestern Mutual gave me that ability, even though it was a detour, or I considered it a detour in my life. It wasn't. It was actually opening up for me to be able to continue to drive my career, continue to open up to more learning, continue to be at an organization who took your career as a priority and to help you to grow. So don't look at things that may be a detour as a negative. Those can be very much a door to open up and put you in another path for you to continue to grow. I am so blessed to be able to say that managing both a career and a home is something that Northwestern Mutual encourages, and that you're able to do it.
Thank you for that, Sheila. Appreciate it. And triplets, I still don't know. And now they're all teenagers. Woo! Yeah. I don't even want to know that experience is like. But I hope you also heard from Sheila too, right? That we all have permission to disrupt at any time. So going back to the gems that Abim shared, if you have intentionality and you have courage, the rest is up to you to be able to make things happen. From both Sheila and DJ, really, right? Disruption and being really, we all have fear. That's something that I think comes with being human, but being able to have the strength and the energy to be able to persevere through your fear that you have. So given the topic for today's conversation around purpose, I'd love to hear from each of you what your purpose is, and also understand whether or not it's tied to your current role or your life stage? And I'll get started here with Abim in that.
Hey, thanks again for the opportunity. I have many purposes, and I say that because, frankly, there's a personal side of me that has purpose, and then there's a professional side that has purpose, and sometimes they intertwine. But for me, I feel very strongly that we pursue our careers and we work very hard. But I have purpose on the home front to be the best spouse, the best father I can be, the best son to my parents. I care for my parents right now, and I want to make sure they have a good life, as in their current age. So that's purpose outside of work. Within work, I cannot be more connected. I've never been more connected to a company where my purpose and the mission of the company is so aligned. This is a company that offers the opportunity for financial security. I did not come from money, but because of the knowledge base I have and understanding the business model, I am in a position to perpetuate a legacy. Most Black and African-American families obviously are very interested in perpetuating a legacy, but may not have all the tools. And I am privileged to be in a position where I am driving financial planning at an enterprise like this that's all about financial security and making the lives of people better. So, I'm just very driven by that purpose, because when you see your clients, when you see people achieve their hopes, dreams, and aspirations because they planned well, and not only that, during their lifetimes, able to live their best lives, but to leave something behind for those they love. That's the business in which we're in, and I'm privileged to be a senior leader of the company helping to drive that. So that's purpose for me, inside work and outside of work. Hopefully that resonates with some of you.
Thank you for that, Abim. I think a couple things I heard from you really is prioritizing your personal versus your professional purpose. I always like to say everybody ain't able to, really be in their purpose professionally and personally. And thinking of it and compartmentalizing it that way, know that it can come in a lot of shapes and forms. I also heard you say, right, from a privilege standpoint, understanding what your privilege is, but as you tie it to the organization that we all get to work for, legacy is so important for us. As a culture, as a people. And so being able to work for an organization in the financial services space, we directly get to impact what people's future looks like. And that's just really powerful. And I think one of the things that ties us all to working at this company. DJ, would like to hear from you too in this space. What is your purpose? And is it tied to your current role or your life stage?
Yes, I believe my purpose is tied to my current role. It's been tied to me my entire life. My purpose is just to simply help people. I grew up, like as I stated, with a younger parent. So I grew up with my godmom. She always helped me growing up, and when she got sick and elderly, I helped her. And I just did that all throughout life. With my jobs in customer service call center, I didn't mind helping people. I love helping people. I'm the one that's able to help you do your job, and I feel good about that. To help you do things in life, and that's what I do currently. I currently support a few applications that help our recruiters sell insurance to make Northwestern Mutual money, and I love that I'm able to, make sure their job is working right, make sure they're doing fine. If someone else is doing good, I'm okay. So that's my purpose, long story short, just to help all around, whether that's life or career.
Thanks for that. I think also too, we can do little things that make a big impact for others. So why not, in doing that? So appreciate that helping people is your purpose. Sheila?
Thanks, Kisha. And I'm in agreement with both DJ and Abim, right? You do have multiple purposes. You have a purpose in home, and I am so encouraged by what Abim said. I do want to be the greatest mother that I can be, the greatest daughter that I can be, the best wife that I can be. And that's my purpose in my home. And then at work, I actually have a purpose statement or a mission statement. And I say, I'm a servant leader. I encourage innovative thinking, forward-looking, and ideals that help my team to develop technology solutions to improve our organization. So we're always looking for ways that we can encourage more innovation, where we can encourage more ideals to bring better solutions to our company. And that's what my role is. In my current role, that's exactly what I love to do. How can we automate processes? How can we identify and make repeatable processes and put those things in place so that we can almost not even think about them, right? And that it's automatically happening and we get to see the benefits of it in the long term. And that's how I think of myself as a technologist, or even as my purpose within the technology organization is to continue to drive that innovation, continue to drive that process to put things in place so that we can improve not only my team, but the entire organization of Northwestern Mutual.
Thanks for that, Sheila. I see Abim shaking his head. I know innovation is his middle name. So he gets a lot of energy in that space, right?
Absolutely.
And I think too, when you think about purpose, when you think about your personal brand, innovation and always doing that is important, because it's not about the title. It is about what gives you energy, what your strengths are, and what components exist in different roles. And so I think as you navigate as leaders, and we're all leaders, no matter where you're at in any organization, it's important to know that it's not about that title that's next when you're thinking about advancement. It's about what are the right components that need to exist in order for you to thrive and be the best you that you are. So very important. So I think, in this next question, I want to ask you, you've almost all, I think, alluded to this, which is you're all giving back to the community in various ways. And I think that, that's important and at the root. And for us, right, again, when you think about that legacy that we're all trying to leave for our culture. And so I'm curious in that space, if you can speak to really what was the importance of mentors or sponsors in your journeys. And I'll start out with DJ on this one.
Okay, my mentor was very important in my journey. We still keep in contact today. I hope she's on the call right now, actually. But they're very important. I didn't know how important a mentor was until I see stars. I didn't know that I needed that extra, guidance, the extra push, that extra motivation for me to say I can do better. This is what you can do. You are able. And now I do the same thing. I'm a mentor also for IC Stars every cycle. So I give back in that way. Somebody help me. I want to help others again, as I stated. So every cycle, I motivate people that's currently in IC Stars to do better, that they shouldn't be afraid of Northwestern Mutual, because I was. And them too will have the same opportunity. So they're very important. You never know who you'll meet, who can help you. And yes, they're beneficial in your life.
Yeah, and when others pave the pathway right for us, we automatically want to give that back to others. So I think, that's an important thing to double click on. And also want to share too. So IC Stars is a partnership that we have in the community, one of many, in order to really not just talk the talk, but walk the walk when we think about our diversity, equity, and inclusion journey. So creating those partnerships in the community of really building a future talent pipeline for us is really important. That's one partner. There are several others. Abim, you are a mentor to many, whether it's in these micro moments that you're doing and showing up right now, or behind the scenes that you do all the time. How has that been important for you in your journey?
Yeah, no, thanks, Kisha. It really, again, is a privilege to be a mentor and a sponsor to others. And that speaks to the fact that you've had that kind of support historically, and it's time to ensure that you can give back to other people. My definition of somebody who's a mentor is somebody who's taken a sincere and authentic interest in your growth, development, and well-being. This is somebody who cares about you, somebody who you can lean on and help you navigate. We talked about courage in times where you have doubt, when you're unsure about taking that next role, or you're trying to understand how to navigate very thorny situations in the workplace, who do you turn to? You turn to this person who's trusted, who again has taken a sincere, authentic interest in your growth, development, and well-being. You cannot overstate the importance of somebody who mentors you. And for sure, if you can recruit a sponsor or somebody can take an interest in you as a sponsor, who basically is somebody who is in the room, who will advocate for on your behalf or nominate you for positions of increasing leadership, who will stake their brand behind your name. That's a sponsor who's willing to go bat for you. And both are very, very important. And sometimes you have somebody who's playing dual roles, but it's been very important for me to have those types of people I can lean on. I realize the power of that. And that's why I take it upon myself as a leader to do that. We are very busy doing so many things, but I like to say that there's nothing more powerful than actually investing your time and effort in other people's growth, development, and well-being, because they will never forget that, as I have not forgotten about what people have done for me. So that's the importance of mentors and sponsors in my career.
Appreciate that and the definitions that you shared too, because I think oftentimes we think that for mentorship or sponsorship, somebody is going to come find us somewhere, but it's a dual relationship no matter what you're looking at. And so whether it's a mentor or a sponsor, I just want to say it's really important to have a mentor in your area where you're at in your organization. It's also good to have a mentor outside of your organization and outside of the company. And you can have mentors at various points in your career. Everybody is not going to be your mentor for 8 million years. So sometimes you have to really maximize those micro moments when people are pouring into you. And that's a mentorship moment. That's a mentor. This moment, right, is, I think, a mentorship one. And then in the sponsorship space, we don't always know our advocates and who they are, but we have all the power to build the sponsors and advocates around us. So when you think about strategically navigating your career, no matter where you're at, make sure that you're building up your own board of advisors. Make sure you're building your champions and you're networking strategically. Just wanted to share that because lots of gems are being communicated here. Sheila, what about for you? How has mentorship and sponsorship really played a role in your journey?
Sure. Well, I think everyone has said everything that needs to be said. I think, Kisha, you just tied it all together. But only thing I will add is it's critical, right? And you have to be very intentional about finding a mentor and building that relationship. One of the critical things and the reason why I give back and why I am a mentor and I have mentees is when I came through in management information systems and computer science, there was no one in my degree that looked like me. None of my professors, none of the other students. And I remember thinking, they would get together and have study, it was study on the weekends, and they never invited me to come. I would love to have study for an exam that was coming up. And then even when I graduated and I started working in technology, my first few jobs, I remember, you were looked over, you were not put in a great path forward. I would love to have had a mentor at that time, someone who was in the organization, someone who looked like me that I can get advice from. And so I was very intentional when I came up throughout technology that I wanted to give back. I wanted that young brown-skinned girl who looked like me to be able to come to me for advice. I wanted her not to be fearful. I wanted her to be bold and courageous. I wanted her to be all those things that I wasn't in the beginning of my career. And so that's what encourages me to be a mentor. But I've had some great mentors who gave me great advice. Times when I was struggling, and you can go and talk to them and they can give you advice, not only on your job selection, but it could be, I'm really confused on what direction I should go in. And they can be that sounding board for you. That's what's great about a mentor. And then sometimes you don't even know that you have a sponsor, that person that's mentioning your name when you're not even around, but they are. So all those connections that you're making, all those relationships that you're building, those may be that very sponsor that's mentioning your names behind closed doors. So always, bring your best to the table. Always, reach across the table if you have questions, and build those relationships, and being intentional about your mentors, asking those questions and building those relationships, even looking for sponsors.
Yeah, goes back to, the Abim gems, intentionality matters. I think also too, representation matters. It's so important to have a mentor who looks like you, and it's so important to have a mentor who doesn't. There's so much value in the different perspectives and the same perspectives. And so make sure you're building those mentors around you by also over communicating your brand. What do you want to be known for? What's important for you to be sharing in rooms when you're in a one-to-many situation or one-on-one? Always be selling. And so always be networking and thinking about, how do I need to position myself with this person? What do I want them to see me as? Because you own your brand, whether you're in the driver's seat or the back seat of that, you own it. So make sure that you're doing that and you're over communicating what your brand is. I know now we're getting close to the Q&A time, and I'm sure there are lots of questions that are all percolating with the audience. So I'll just do one quick kind of rapid fire for Sheila, Abim, and DJ. And in tying all this together and growing into your purpose, timing is truly everything. And every moment and every experience you get along your journey is important and valuable. Make sure you're taking time to reflect. A wise leader named Abim taught me that reflection is key, so that you can really be applying what you are learning along your pathway in order to be positioned and prepared when that opportunity comes your way. So really quickly, rapid fire, why Northwestern Mutual and why now for each of you? And I'll give this to DJ to share.
Oh, you're gonna start with me?
Yes.
I want to wait a little bit. But no, so let's start off. Before I started Northwestern Mutual, what got me was the diversity and inclusion. They partnered with IC Star, so it was automatic for me. I knew they wanted people who looked like me more in their office, and that's what really brought me to Northwestern Mutual. When I got to Northwestern Mutual, I noticed that there were 2 cafeterias, good food, and just all my good culture in there. I was able to join different employee resource groups, as Sheila mentioned earlier. I'm in the African American ERG, the LGBTQ. I don't know if they call it plus ERG.
Pride ERG.
Yeah, Pride ERG. That's what it is. But yeah, it's just, I feel welcome when I go to work. Well, when I do go to the office, it's just amazing. It feels like home to me. I don't want to, like as I stated before we spoke, I would never leave Northwestern Mutual. I felt comfortable. It's what I was looking for, and I hope to grow.
Thank you. What I also hear you saying is you also feel the permission to be authentically you every day too, and you're comfortable in that.
Yes, I don't have to hide who I am at work. You
Yeah.
don't have that feeling.
So important. Sheila, what about you?
Yeah, so I totally agree with DJ, everything that he said. And then the first thing that I was so excited about here is Northwestern Mutual is really helping families. And I think Abim touched on this too. But one of the things they're doing is identifying and helping people to build that generational wealth that we don't always talk about in the Black community, because we just didn't have generational wealth, right? We're talking about wealth that's where you can leave an inheritance to your grandchildren. And I like that Northwestern Mutual wants to be at the center of the lives, even of Black and Brown folks. That is amazing to me. And then secondly, what really drew me here was in Northwestern Mutual cares about the employees. They care about their careers, their growth. And what we have known and what we have found is diverse workforce are more creative, they're more innovative. And studies have continued to show over and over again that a diverse workforce helps to foster better relationships, better understandings of different perspectives. And so that's in the workplace, but it also will do that in the community, because what you learn in the workplace, you're taking it back home to your community. And good workplaces help to spur good communities, which helps to spur good, cities and, states. So we're making a change and we're making a difference, not just here in Milwaukee, but throughout the whole United States.
Thanks, Sheila. Abim.
Yeah, I think, Sheila, you said it very well in terms of mission alignment. The other reason why I'm very excited, I'm proud to have been here for 19 years is, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, is that our culture is a competitive advantage. There are not that many companies that you would go to where culture is a competitive advantage. We have the mission and mission alignment, but this notion of culture is a huge attractor of talent to Northwestern Mutual. People stay here like myself. We are building out our diversity and inclusion efforts to make sure that we can attract all types of people and keep them at Northwestern Mutual. But more importantly, I'm especially proud in the last 2 years of some of the committed initiatives that Northwestern Mutual has undertaken. For instance, we launched a $100 million impact fund to really address a couple of things in the Black and African American community, $100 million based on the commitment of our CEO. We also set aside $20 million to fund Black and African American entrepreneurs and started the Northwestern Mutual Black Founder Accelerator. These are all initiatives put in place based on the commitment and dedication of our CEO, who has put together what's called a sustained action for racial equity. So when I talked about the culture being a competitive advantage, not only have I been able to have a good career here and thrive here, but I am also very proud that I can share such stats with you, such details with you, that are proof points about the culture that Northwestern Mutual has. This is a place that's a great place to have a career, but the community in which we do business also has an incredible trust for us. And lastly, the way this company is run is profoundly incredible. We're a Fortune 90 company. I'm very close to a lot of the financial strength details, but this is a company that is so well run and so well managed that, again, it makes you feel good that you're at a company that has a tremendous amount of high integrity. And all that wraps into, that's why I've been here for 19 years. And you find a lot of people like myself who've been here and had a variety of roles. So hopefully that resonates again with some of you on the phone.
Yeah, thank you, all three of you, for that. And also feels good to be the D&I person on the phone that doesn't need to talk about D&I, because all of you are great examples and communicated that so eloquently. I think also what's great too is you can see the retention aspect from 19 years that Abim has been here to DJ, who's been here a few years. There's a lot of intentionality that's happening for us in building this culture. I see a couple questions that have come in. One is, so I'll actually give this question to DJ. What is it that keeps you going even when the obstacles seem like too much?
It's my family, my mom and my sister. It's only us three, and it's up to me to keep us going, to keep us afloat. They're my biggest supporters, and I want to take care of my family. I want us to see us do great going forward. I have younger nieces and nephews. Well, only 2, but I just want to do great. So they keep me going. I know if I fail, I feel like we all fail. So I have to, keep it going. I'm the tough one in my family. So I have to stay tough and keep going.
Thank you. What about you, Abim? 19 years strong. What is it that keeps you going?
I think a similar sentiment with DJ. There's just this notion of resilience. For some of you who may not know, I was born in Ithaca, New York, but I grew up in Nigeria. And when you grow up in a developing country and you have the opportunities to thrive and excel, you just have to think about putting one foot in front of the other all the time. Problems will never go away, but the resilience and grit that you have is what keeps you going and helps you develop that muscle to confront other challenges that may come. So that's what keeps us going.
Sheila.
I agree. Your family really, when you have young people who are looking at you and they are seeing how you are navigating your path, you really want to be there and you really want to show them the best path forward. But more than anything, I think part of it too, you deserve to be there. right? And so you have to know that you deserve to be at the table, you deserve to be in the room, you deserve to be a part of the conversation. And that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, I would have to say the thing that keeps me going energy wise is really the people. That's super cliche given the work that I do, but being able to see all of you thrive is and lead from different places and spaces is just really all of the goodness that I really need, I think, to keep going, because the work that we're doing really matters, and it comes through in all of your stories, what you've shared here today. So really appreciate that. I see a couple more questions have come through here. So what do you think, what do folks think are the biggest environmental workplace barriers to career advancement for Black technologists and other underrepresented groups?
Can you
Abim?
say the question again?
Yeah, I can. What do folks think are the biggest environmental workplace barriers to career advancement for Black technologists or other represented groups? Actually, before I pass this over, I want to answer a little bit of this. So I would say it's a couple things. It's not as simple, I think, as a few barriers. I think what I often see in the conversations I have with employees is people being the barriers for themselves, and in our lived experiences, the challenges that we have experienced for people of color, I think holistically, that ends up being barriers for us and how we show up, whether or not we speak up, whether or not we choose courage or intentionality or not. And then I think also, right, the systemic challenges that exist for all of us is another piece of this, barrier-wise in the workplace. But we are a resilient people, as you've heard here today. And so I think the message of continuing to press forward no matter what is important. I also think too, the follow-up question to this is, what do you think local department level D&I councils can do to help close those gaps? I think also, whether it's councils or ERGs, our people drive our culture, period. And so I think you need to know in your function, what are the challenges or opportunities when it comes to attracting, retaining, and advancing and developing diverse talent. Once you know those challenges, then you can start to come up with a plan and a strategy around how you want to work towards that with your leaders. Partnership is everything. Partnership is so important. And knowing your audience always so that you can help meet them where they're at and help take them where we're going is also important. In the last few minutes that we have here, a couple more questions that have come through. One I'll just click on here is, so advice. What advice do you have for people who are currently going through internship programs like IC Stars or others? Sheila.
Definitely get out and start building those relationships. You've met 3 wonderful people here, 4 people, including Kisha. So we have LinkedIn addresses. So we have a lot of good information that we share on our LinkedIn profile. So make sure that you reach out and start making those connections early.
Thank you for that. I know we're at time. Thank you for today's conversation, for the questions. If we didn't get to your question, to Sheila's point, feel free to send us a note on LinkedIn. You can find each of us that way. And thank you for coming to today's session. I hope that this helps you along your own personal journeys in growing in your purpose and navigating that path, whether it's personally or professionally. Have a wonderful week, y'all.
Thank you, Kisha. Thanks, everybody.